I'm Sam. I'm the Technical Director of Mars Society UK. We have a few other members scattered throughout the room. I'll be talking about our technical activities through very much the lens of open source based engineering. Brief background: we're the UK chapter of the Mars Society. Have a large membership group. We do a huge amount of work in outreach as well as technical, which I won't talk about at all today. We have a couple of astronauts each year who we bring to do talks. This is the committee with Mike Foll last year. We have Chris Szymborski from Blue Origin coming in March next year, Patrick?
Yeah.
March, I remembered. And collaborations with groups across the UK, around Europe and globally. I'm going to ignore all the great work about outreach because I do engineering. And I want to talk about, as a sort of philosophical ramp-in, about why we open source things in Mars Society UK, and what open source is if you're not aware. Because I'm aware it's a little bit of a sort of software nerd thing, at least it used to be. The point of open source is to make everything available. At the core of it, it's work that you just say, this we want to release to the world. That could be source code, design calculations, CAD, manufacturing instructions, experimental data, and we allow it to be accessed, viewed, shared, reproduced, modified. We work under CC BY 4, which allows for commercial utilization if you need to. So we allow other entities to work commercially with our materials under the provision of you must give credit. We want to make sure that this information is spread as widely as possible because fundamentally we care about accelerating progress to Mars. And in our view, we don't see commercialization as the best way to do that for the work that we do. There are fundamentally three core philosophies for this. Open source enables outreach to be very effective. It involves as many people as we can. We all good? Testing? All good. It allows for outreach. It allows us to expand our work to as broad an audience as possible. Unlike GONO, where you have export controls and you have to work with European or ESA citizens, we can go completely global with open source within the constraints of what we can and can't do legally, but it allows this much broader base. It allows for collaboration and very open collaboration. We can say very clearly to a partner organization, this is open. We don't want to try and commercialize this for our own benefit. This is being offered as a honest technical trade. And it gives us the freedom to avoid these commercial pressures. We can work on technologies that, frankly, will never make any money at all. And we don't care. We're not trying to make money. We're trying to do it for the love of the game, for the research, and to try and get the engineering work to proceed. That's philosophy. We don't want to do philosophy here, apart from the people that do. We want to do technical. So we have 3 examples, or maybe 3.5, of technical projects that we're working on in the Mars Society UK, all of which are open source and follow open principles, which I'll go through just to show how this works and sort of share an update of what we're working on. The first of these is Mons, which works well in France. This is a tripartite collaboration between Mars Society UK and 2 other open source groups, Nexus Aurora and Develop Space. Essentially, in this relationship, Develop Space has provided some funding. Nexus Aurora providing some project coordination. We're bringing expertise on thermodynamic cycle analysis and some nuclear inputs for it. And the core question is, how many megawatts can we cram into one Starship? And how do we optimize this? What's the trade space like? There's been a great deal of work done historically on small kilowatt, 100 kilowatt scale reactors on the sort of maybe a few ton scale. We have 200 tons to play with, and we want to play with it. We want to really open up the trade space. We want to look at the range of options that have been studied before across industry. And we want to make this as open as we can to say, going forwards, we feel this is the space of nuclear for Mars. Go have fun. Just to plug the 2 partners on this, because we want to share as much as we can. Nexus Aurora are it has animations on this slide that they gave me. Is an open source trade group. They work online to do mostly open source engineering, hardware and software, some concept work, lots of really cool stuff with generation ships, LEO space stations, as well as simulation hardware. They provide some expertise on space nuclear that they're bringing to this. Website is there. And also, thanks to Develop Space, which is a organization that's coming back from some previous sort of stealth period, that is a non-profit organization based in California that's providing financial support to open source projects, including about 14 others in the most recent funding round. Please check out the website if you'd like to get involved. They are really cool, and they provide technical advice as well for projects that are open source to, as they say, sort of leverage this reduction in launch costs, new philosophies to just unlock new technical and new scientific foundations for human space. So thanks to both of those organizations for their support. As to why we've made this open source, I think it's a really key question, especially with nuclear. People get a bit tetchy if you say we're going to share all the nuclear secrets with everybody. It's a fractured field, especially at large-scale surface fission. It's not got a well-defined this is what's best paradigm. There are many competing groups. I mentioned RSMAS, I mentioned UW-Madison. Many groups have a professor with a key architecture that they prefer. We want to try and level it out and say, here is, as we see it, the complete trade space. Pick your poison. And open sourcing this allows everyone to say, oh, this is actually, they're doing this fairly. They've looked at everything. They're not putting a fudge factor in to make boiling potassium vapor reactors work really well. This is open and fair and allows others to go forwards and build off this work. I'm not a nuclear physicist. I'm not a nuclear engineer. I work mostly in thermal engineering. But making this open, we invite the scrutiny from others to say, is this valid? Is this correct? And can we take this and go further with it? That's one thing. That's paper. There's spreadsheets. If you want to see spreadsheets, I can show you the spreadsheets. It's open source. The next things are hardware. MSUK is a pioneer of doing high, what we call system fidelity analog hardware. This is taking test like you fly like you test to the level of system behavior. We want to improve the way that mission operations mirror real space missions, whether that means doing mock-ups for functional blocks. If we have an architecture that mirrors a real, for example, life support architecture, we can get many lessons about how these architectures will behave in the field when exposed to real conditions. And open sourcing this is a great tool to do new work in this field and then share it as widely as possible. Analogs, of course, as everyone knows, are a very cash-constrained environment. If we introduce a commercial entity that is selling this, we need to have our own margins. Open sourcing provides this as a have fun, which is an attitude we really like. The first part of this QR code will take you to the complete CAD and manufacturing pack for this. Could you hold that for me? This is the M1 spacesuit kinematic mock-up of the shoulder. This is a very close mock-up of the XEMU suit. If you want to buy one of these off the shelf as a full suit, is about $70 million. This is 80 euros. The files are there. Take it. If you want to build a spacesuit with this kinematic shoulder, or shortly with the rest of the elbow and wrist and torso and waist and lower waist assembly, that's coming as well. It's fully open. If you want to print it, this is printed on one printer. It took about a week to print and 3 hours to assemble. So have fun. And if you want the links, I can share them afterwards if you want to take these. We're a member of the COSRAD initiative. It brings together some people from the UK, Switzerland, Armenia, Austria, doing the whole stack, the life support systems, the electronics, the software, completely open source. We don't want to sell these suits. People sell suits. We want to make better suits and allow people to use them as freely as they can. This costs money to build. On top of that, in terms of environmental systems, we work as more of a specialist, again, bringing in our thermal expertise and thermodynamics. This is our proposed Flashline environmental control system. Again, this is the sort of thing where we want to open up what we consider best practice and push the envelope for analog missions. This is a little bit harder to read, and there are some points we can't share too much about this. As a proposed architecture, we can share this one. And then the third project that we operate open source and that we bring in a lot of experience with is CHASM. This is the Community of Human Space Analog Missions. It's a global forum between analog habitat operators, mission operators, experimenters, and crews. And we focus this very heavily on people that are upstream in the program, people who drive mission design, drive mission development, drive technology development in the sector, because we want to try and uplift the entire field. We want to make the state of the art better and make everyone better towards the state of the art. We provide as much information as we can. We collate it, we publish it. It is published. We have a wiki, we have a website. Again, please have a look. This is the workshop we had on Thursday in the European Space Agency, working with ESA and a number of European analogs to increase the standardization of analogs across Europe in particular, provide for the needs of ESA with the commercial sector, and doing so in a way that is not a secret squirrel initiative where it's us and 3 of our friends and Lunaris are in on it, but in making sure that everyone benefits. We want the complete analog community in Europe, because ESA, but the complete global community of analogs to benefit from the work of the best. Gurno, you do amazing work. We want to share it as widely as we can, and we want to create channels whereby everyone and all their expertise can come to the table and say, oh, we did this, it worked, great, you should all go and do it. And yeah, so the reason to keep analogs open source, I've just said that already. No one organization can run enough missions to learn everything. And there's always going to be someone who goes onto a mine waste spoil tip in Poland and thinks of something really, really clever. And if that isn't well communicated across the community and there aren't these open channels, it's very hard for someone like Flashline or Biosphere 2 to learn from these lessons. So we're very, very, very keen to keep these channels as open as we can. We have our member organizations of CHASM run 50 missions a year. We'd love to get MDRS more involved with it because that really bumps that number much higher. And everyone benefits from this. We're not trying to keep anyone down and try and share secret information, but we're trying to make sure that everyone benefits as much as we can and that there's no one being left in the dark because they weren't in the right email chain. So you should all do this. This is just very brief. If you want to open source a project, the key of it is work out what you want to share, how to share it, choose somewhere to publish it openly on the web, on the web, and publish it and share it. Make clear that to everybody out there, we are doing this open source. We're doing it as almost a political statement. We want to make this for the community, not for our own interests. You can run projects from scratch in open source, as with the M1. We have open plans to develop this in open source and roadmaps that support this R&D. We can also open up projects that have been closed in the past. There's a whole philosophical side that I don't want to get into, but that's the summary of it. This is what we're working on in the UK. It's very, at least on my corner of the society, very technical driven, and we'd love to get more people involved through this mechanism. Thank you. Questions?
Yeah. I'm sure there are questions, so please. Yeah, I knew you were the one. You want the mic?
I don't need it. So you mentioned getting MDRS involved. The MDRS crews every day file 4 or 5 reports, commanders' reports, the journals report, engineering reports. Can you take those and just get those?
We can take that. I think speaking to CHASM, and I'm not the CHASM director, we can discuss this more deeply with a more complete CHASM team. But the crux of CHASM, and I think one of the challenges with the analog, is going from data to information to knowledge. Right. And what we found a lot of the case, and I think some organizations are very good at it, and some are much less good at it, is taking the huge bulk of information in mission reports and research papers and situation reports and updates and even like tweets from crew members and turning that into lessons learned and saying, MDRS or Habitat Mate as well, they generate huge amounts of mission data. And how do we distill from that what is working well so we can both upgrade, we can support other HABs in upgrading that, but also say, oh, this is not working well. We have this trend across multiple missions of this part of the operations scheme or this part of hardware isn't working the way we want it to work. Community of analogs, 1,000 people across the world, how do you solve this problem? So we can absolutely work on hosting more information through our system, providing it there, but creating knowledge from data is the hard part. And I wish I had a solution to that in the general case. I'd be a richer man if I was.
Other questions? Okay.
Your approach is an extremely commendable one and ethically really a shining example of how it should be. Real life tells us that at one point this will change when commercial companies come in that actually have to make money to feed their children. And so, did you have already any indications of companies trying to grab and suck up the information and commercialize it and boost their probabilities for the next ESA proposal and have a better chance in their consortium?
So, in part, we avoid that by working on things that are unmarketable. No one wants to buy analog suits at the end of the day, or very few people want to buy high-fidelity analog suits. And if someone wants to build a multi-megawatt fission reactor on Mars, sign me up, but I'm not aware of anyone who is taking this information. So we sort of sidestep this at the moment by working on things that are not commercially viable. And this is part of the advantage of it, is it means we can do so. there are many ways and frameworks that exist in established prior art, especially in software engineering, because open source software is, in many cases, the norm for large libraries of software modules. And there are many frameworks that exist for doing open source commercialization. And even today, if you say to me, I would love an M1 shoulder, I don't have a printer, I'll pay you to build one. Yeah. There are ways to sort of take open source information and commercialize it.
That's still wonderful, but what I would be concerned in your place is that at one point this takeout and feeding into the industry, of the commercial industry, will backfire at one point because then they change something, drop out of the open source domain, and then prohibit you from continuing. Huh?
Yeah.
Because they put a patent to it. So my suggestion or my thought would be get lawyers. Not just to protect the IPR, which not existent yet in a commercial point of view or so, but there will be, I promise you, inevitably a point where we'll regret that openness if you have not thought about the way how the space industry work and people do their power plays. You
Yes.
will be eaten alive for breakfast if you don't consider that properly.
Well, I'll just, on the final point, there is, in Nexus Aurora, we have a point around this with space stations, where in 2021, we proposed a space station concept, single launch Starship space station, large volume ISS replacement as a concept. And the next year, Airbus walked out a very similar concept, and they claimed to have never seen our paper. At the end of the day, a space station that looks like our space station is going to orbit in 2029. And as a group of open source practitioners, we're fine with that. We couldn't have built a space station. If someone gave us $3 billion, we could have built a space station, but they didn't. Airbus has the resource. And we know philosophically that we wanted to say, here is a concept. We think it's viable, here's why. Go have fun. And Airbus took that, and we were perfectly happy with them to do so. We've talked to them, and we've said, this is really cool, thank you for doing this. And they said, what? But as far as we were concerned, this is a huge win for open source, because we're influencing space. And maybe that's us being...
We're gonna sue you because you're copying their design in a visual. That's how it starts.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
That project's been since ended, because we finished the design, and then it is now going to space. So we mark that up as a win for us. Yes, there are many... It gets knotty, and we have lots of... There are many ways to do open source that gets technical around how you publish when and IP controls that... There is a very broad framework, and I can share documentation about how CC BY 4A supports this, and there are many ways that you can caveat this, essentially. But nerdy technical, not for now.
I have one question.
Yeah.
What about combining artificial intelligence and because you try to provide lots of information of resources, but in general we don't know that. So we need artificial intelligence, or perhaps a database, but an intelligent database, so that we can access to the information. And you said also, you talked about a wiki. So maybe we can combine the wiki, artificial intelligence, so that we perhaps the how do I say, the Mars Fox was the idea, perhaps something like that, so that we can ask Mars Fox, please tell me how to build a spacesuit. I would like to understand what can I do for the shoulder, for everything. Well, and so we get the answer.
I think that's actually a really good case, because if you're building AI models, you need training data, and if all of this information was locked behind separate file servers in Lunaris data and OVF servers, you wouldn't be able to get that information. So in publicizing this, I'm not a software engineer. I don't want to try and build an AI model personally, but I care about providing the information to people. And if we can take that and then use it to build better tools elsewhere, we've done our parts. We're making the information good for the public and good for use elsewhere. And that's why we use CC BY 4, because it allows this reuse in this way.